There's this saying that your worst sin is that you've destroyed and betrayed yourself for nothing. And that's exactly what happens when we get so caught up in trying to be liked by everyone, adjusting and performing so much of who we are that at the end of it all, you don't even like the version of yourself that you've become. And so you will never be truly free if you're always worrying about other people's opinions. But of course, it doesn't have to stay that way. Welcome back to the It Girl Playbook. Today we will be exploring the book Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. There are so many people who say that this book has been life-changing for them and has changed their entire perspective on how to view life and how to navigate it. And so I figured it would be worthwhile to explore some of the lessons outlined in the book, starting with the psychology of perception. The authors reference how a well, like a water well, the temperature of the water inside always stays the same at an average of 18 degrees, no matter how hot or cold the weather is outside, meaning that it is never changing its temperature inside despite the weather or even entire seasons changing outside. And that's an incredible lesson on stillness. It shows that stability doesn't come from controlling the outside world, but rather maintaining an inner state that doesn't easily get swayed with every change. But beyond that, as the season changes and you grab the water from the well to drink, you'll find that as the summer, when the weather is hot outside, the water will taste quite cool. And when you grab water to drink in the winter, when it's so cold out, the water will feel warm. But remember, the water inside the well is always constant at an average of 18 degrees. This taps into the Alderian psychology, or the psychology of perception, which basically says how we don't live in the quote-unquote real world. We live in the world as how we perceive it. Two people can experience the same event but walk away with totally different perceptions. For example, two people get into a car accident. One is angry because they were already in a rush and now they feel like their day is ruined. The other walks away happy and just incredibly grateful that nobody was hurt. Neither of them are necessarily wrong in their opinions. Just like one person drinking water from the well may think it's cold while the other may think it's hot. They are both right in their opinions, but the fact of the matter is the car accident did happen and the water is 18 degrees. So what does that mean for us? It means that how we see the world and how people see us is never objective. It's always filtered. The car accident, the temperature of the water well are both constant. It is our interpretations that give meaning to our experiences. It is our interpretation that determines whether or not the water was cool or warm, whether that car accident was good or bad. And the way people interpret information is through the lens of their own past experiences, their beliefs, and their identity. This is important for two reasons. One, we can recognize that others do this. Sometimes people literally project their inner state into others. So what they see in you may actually be a reflection of themselves. You're chasing for an approval from someone that isn't seeing you as you, but a reflection of themselves. How ineffective is that? For example, you're trying to get someone to like you, but the only reason they're portraying that they don't like you is because they are envious of something you are or something that you do, because they secretly admire that and they think that they lack it in themselves. Do you see how counterproductive that is? People don't see you as they are, they see you as they are. You cannot get someone to like you for who you think you are when they only see you for who they think you are. The second reason is that we can also recognize this in our own behaviors, and this can be incredibly powerful because it allows us to understand that we are in more control of our lives than we may think. We live life through our own perception of life, and how we choose to perceive life can determine our quality of life, which leads us to the second core lesson from the book, Freedom from the Past. Like we've mentioned, we live life through our perception, and how we interpret our experiences determines its meaning and therefore your quality of life. This filter is built from our past, and if all you've ever known is struggle or rejection, it's no wonder you adopted a victim identity. From that place, every experience reinforces the same story. Nothing works, the world is against me, I'm not enough, and I have such a hard life. It's not that you don't know any better, it's because it's all that you know. If someone doesn't text you back, it doesn't just mean that they're busy, even if it really was just that. It now suddenly means you're unworthy of attacks or you're being abandoned again, because that's the story and that's the identity you've carried for so long. The identity built from pain drives the need for validation. If you see yourself as broken, you seek someone to fix you. If you feel unworthy, you'll bend over backwards just to be liked. And that's why validation feels so good and why it's so powerful, because when someone sees a good in you that you can't see yourself, it feels like hope. And so what you're really craving is their perception of you, and perception is a choice. Instead of a victim, you can see yourself as someone who has survived all of the things that you had to go through. Instead of being broken, you can see yourself as a winner, because look, there were days where you struggled, where it was probably very, very difficult mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically, yet you've overcome all of that just to be where you are now, watching a video to learn more, to gain perspective, to grow, and to improve, instead of just giving up. And that in itself is proof that life is working for you, not against you. So use this version of you to determine who you decide to be today and moving forward, because this identity will influence your perception of life, and that perception determines the quality of the life that you live. And you deserve a life where you can genuinely be happy. And so keep in mind that your worth isn't defined by other people's opinions. No validation is stronger than your own. And that's where true happiness begins, which leads us to our last core lesson of the episode, which is the courage to be happy. The only thing you need to find happiness is the courage to be disliked. So much unhappiness comes from trying to mold ourselves into someone's expectation to hopefully gain their approval. We filter our personalities, water down our goals and our dreams, and overextend ourselves, all in the hopes of being accepted. But that's not happiness. That's literally a performance. Freedom truly begins the moment that you stop trying to please everyone. Happiness isn't about being universally liked, because even that is impossible. You can literally be the sweetest peach on earth, and some people just won't like peaches. But being okay with that and understanding that that has no reflection on your actual worth gives you all the permission that you need to actually be who you want to be and live how you want to live. The real courage isn't in being liked, it's in standing firm in who you are and what you believe in, even if that makes some people uncomfortable. And I think that's exactly why characters like Blair Waldorf from Gossip Girl are so popular. She never abandoned who she was, even if who she was wasn't always kind. Sometimes she was genuinely mean. Sometimes it means getting what she wants by any means possible, which isn't what I'm encouraging. The point is that Blair understood that sometimes people will not like her, but she is okay with that. That scene from her college interview highlighted exactly this. She explained straight up to the college recruiter that she isn't effortlessly charming like Serena, but she has her own qualities that she takes pride in, reflective in the application that she handed to him. She rather allow people to not accept her for who she actually is than to accept her for who she isn't. She had the courage to be disliked, and the result of that was the peace of mind knowing that everyone who loved her accepted her for who she actually was. A more real-life example I could think of is Hailey Bieber. We can all agree that she is not the most liked person on the internet, and whether or not she is truly unbothered, she at least is perceived to be unbothered by being disliked with all the drama, the rumors, and the accusations. Her recent What's in My Bag interview with Vogue was reflective of this. She pulled out the multiple phones to address her stalking rumors. She pulled out her Eau de Nepo perfume to address the nepotism accusations. And let's not forget the love potion that her dad got her from a special place in the mountains to make a Canadian pop star fall in love with her. She made it clear that she was aware of the dislike, but by poking fun of it and joining in, even building on the joke, made it seem like she was completely unbothered. And that is exactly why she is continuously seen to be winning with brand deals, building her own brand, building her family, and becoming a literal billionaire in the process. Having the courage to be disliked, it doesn't mean that you're literally 100% unbothered by it. You can still feel some type of way about what is happening around you, but the goal is to have the stillness within you to stay true to yourself and stay true to what you believe in. Just like the well analogy that we made in the very beginning, to maintain this sense of stillness within you so that you have control control over your life rather than let life control you. And that takes an incredible amount of responsibility. Many people avoid happiness because it requires responsibility. There's a reason why the saying goes, you're responsible for your own happiness. It requires effort to understand who you are and what you want, make the effort to maintain that, and have the courage to be okay with the rejection and the hardships that you will face along the way. But if you had what it takes to be where you are right now, then I genuinely believe that you have everything it takes to be who you actually want to be and to live the life you actually want to live. You deserve to be genuinely happy, but the price you have to pay is to have the courage to be disliked. And so I hope this episode encourages you to do just that. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check out the It Girl newsletter for episode recaps, to join in on the conversation, and to help decide on what to explore next. I hope to see you in our next episode, and in the meantime, as always, stay hot. Bye!